Okay, the watch. At night, my husband takes it off, puts it on the dresser beside his wallet and keys, laying down for a moment the accoutrements of manhood. Sometimes when he's not looking, I pick it up, savor the weight, the dark face ticked with silver, the brown ostrich leather band with its little goosebumps raised as the flesh is raised, in pleasure. He had wanted a watch and was pleased when I gave it to him. And since we've been together 10 years, it seemed like the occasion for the gift of a watch, a recognition of the intricate achievements of marriage, its many negotiations and nameless triumphs. But tonight, when I saw it lying there among his crumpled receipts and scattered pennies, I thought of my brother's wife coming home from the coroner, carrying his rings, his watch, in a clear Ziploc bag, and how we sat at the table and emptied them into our palms, their slight pressure, all that remained of him. How odd the way a watch keeps going, even after the heart has stopped. My grandfather was a watchmaker and spent his life in Holland, leaning over a clean, well-lit table, a surgeon of time, attending to the inner workings, spring, escapement, balance wheel. I can't take it back. The way the man I love is already disappearing into this mechanism of metal and hide, this accountant of hours that holds with such precise indifference all the minutes of his life.
It's another great poem, The Watch from Bonfire Opera. And that's another poem that I highlighted, as I was going through. I wrote some notes. And that line, how odd the way a watch keeps going even after the heart has stopped, is such a great line that just sticks with you, like the Bonfire Opera scenes do. And the other thing is that this poem has such a strong turn, which I noticed going through the poems. You have a lot of sort of leaps where you take a sort of a right angle. And here it is where you're talking about the watch as a gift, and all of a sudden you remember the watch in the bag of what's remaining of people. How do you go about your process of writing? We have a workshop we do every Friday, and I always talk about the way the poem has to have a movement, or it has to take a turn somewhere, or go through a door.
Right.
How do you sort of find where the door is in a poem, and how do you know when to take it? How does the process of writing work for you?
Oh, I love talking to other poets about poetry because, yeah, it's such a poet's question.
Well,
right?
I think it's pretty much all poets watching, so that's what we all want to know is how this stuff is done. Yeah.
How do we do it? And so on this one, I actually can sort of remember what that was like. That I remember seeing his watch there sitting and going, oh, that makes me feel some kind of way. And I don't know what it is. And so I just made a mental note, and I think wrote in my notebook before bed his watch. And then I kind of watched my mind over the next day or two. It was a busy week, but I could see my mind accumulating things. And I went, oh, my brother's, I was there when his wife came home from the coroner with that bag. Mm-hmm. And I realized that's a human life comes down to this little Ziploc bag in some way of here. And I went, oh, okay, that's why. And it wasn't until I was sitting writing the first draft of it where I went, okay, I know this has something to do with my brother and it has to do with my husband. It wasn't until I was writing it that I realized I come from watchmakers. And that added another level. Like, you can still buy a Laméris watch,
oh, really?
I think a vintage one in Holland. I wish I had one. So if anyone watching this.
Yeah, a gift, yeah. Trade it for a signed copy of the book. How about that?
Oh, totally. I will send you so many copies. But when I grew up, when I was growing up, my dad wore a Laméris watch. And so I thought, oh, then there's that. And then I had the fun of looking up some of the language of watchmaking. And spring, escapement, balance wheel. And when I read the poem up in San Francisco, some years ago, someone came up to me after and he said, do you know what it's called when they add an extra feature? Like when you can see the date or the the little time of day, cloud, sun thing. I said, no, what's that called? He said, a complication.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I was like, damn, why didn't you tell me that before I wrote this?
That was a great explanation, though. Do you think that, you mentioned that you had this sort of sense that there was something there. Do you think
Yeah.
subconsciously you knew? Like, I always wonder if we know deep down, like, what are we tapping into? Like, how do we, do you think you knew all those details? Do you think, like, one part of your brain remembered that you come from a family of watchmakers and was tying it together before you even knew it? Or is it sort of a coincidence that pops up through the magic of the universe? I don't know. It's just so fascinating to me.
Well, I mean, that's fascinating to me too. And it makes me think of, I mean, I'm going to answer this in an indirect way. I used to work at a preschool because I like it. So I worked at a preschool as an assistant when I was in my 20s. And there was a preschool teacher there who told me this story. Every time there was a break from school, like a summer break or something, her partner wanted to go see buffalo every time. And so it would be summer, and my friend, the preschool teacher, would be saying, can we go to Hawaii? And her partner would say, I really want to go see the buffalo. And it was actually a point of contention between them, as you can imagine, when you have different things you want to do. And then something happened. They found out more about her partner's history, her background. She'd been adopted, and it turned out she was Native American.
Oh, wow.
And that changed everything about the buffalo. Did she know? Did she know somewhere on where did she know? So do we know things in our marrow that we don't know in our minds? Apparently we do.
Yeah. I think we do. I don't know what it is. I don't know if we, we're a hologram in some kind of simulation or on the surface of a higher dimensional black hole or whatever we are, but somehow there's a connection that is just so fascinating. And the only way you can explore it is through art, really. I feel like you can't explore it scientifically.
No,
that's
true.
Poetry is sort of the most fundamental art in a way because we're linguistic creatures. So I just love this stuff. Yeah.
I do too. I mean, definitely my mind goes there. I definitely believe in the mystery. And, you do or you don't. And I think I definitely am someone who believes in the mystery, and that just meaning that things are connected in ways that we can't quite understand with our logical mind.
Yeah, I definitely agree.